So welcome to Satsang. As you know, if you have any questions, you're welcome to pose your question or write them in the chat box. And if you are watching on YouTube, you can write your question in the chat box on YouTube, and Tara will bring it to my attention. In the meantime, I have two questions that were sent to me, and I will address them in the course of this meeting. So, our true nature, what we truly are, is so sweet. It's so sweet. It's simple, it's easy, it's free, it's happy, naturally, effortlessly blissful. And that's wonderful news, isn't it? So, I welcome these wonderful news. And I am committed to the deep understanding, the living understanding of the meaning of that. So, I'm not just interested in some temporary experience that comes and goes in a bundle of images that one day everybody uploads and the next day it's down the drain. So the interest is in the deep understanding of the self, the bliss of the self, the freedom of the self, the happiness, the beauty, the love, the friendship, the equanimity of the self. So the self is not a concept. It refers to the reality of your experience, to what is real. And when you are contemplating your experience, you're contemplating not what is arising on the screen, but the contemplator of what is arising on the screen. Because what is arising on the screen is not possible without the screen. The image on the screen is not possible without the screen. Your experiences are not possible without consciousness. And by consciousness, we're not referring to some concept or some idea. We're referring to the true I. The true I that is completely free, untouched by events. It's completely free. It's not in the realm of the phenomenal. In the phenomenal realm, sometimes we feel free, sometimes we don't. Sometimes we are happy, sometimes we are not, which makes perfect sense. Sometimes it's raining and the plants are growing, and sometimes at the dry season there is a drought and nothing is growing. That's true in the phenomenal realm, meaning in the dream realm, meaning in on the images on the screen, the story. And as long as you don't awaken to what you truly are, it seems to you that you are the story, that you are victim of the story, or you are the hero or the villain. One day the hero, next day the villain. One day you win, next day you lose. And you're hoping that you're going to be winning more than you're going to be losing. So by consciousness, we're referring to the true self, the true I. what I truly am. You could say it's the light of being. You could say it's the reality of being awareness. The true I am, universal I am, not personal, impersonal I am, universal self. So be watchful when you are saying I, when you're referring to I, what you are referring to and what is it that is referring. It is always I consciousness referring to I consciousness, I referring to I, consciousness, consciousness, mirror, mirror, no object, no in between, nothing in between, just the self. Formless, untouched. You cannot burn it or drown it, hurt it. So awakening to the self is not a story that somebody is telling you. You are that, you are the self, beyond any doubt. And coming to your deep understanding of your true nature, you need to examine your beliefs and your feelings that say, oh, I am a person, I'm a man, I'm a woman, I'm somebody. This consciousness is limited to body-mind. That's a belief. There is this belief that consciousness depends on the body-mind, but there is no evidence whatsoever for that. But when you have that belief, when you don't examine that belief, your perception is affected by that belief. So your perception is the perception of being a person in an outside world, and you suffer. You have proof that, hey, I am suffering because of my father, my mother, my boss, my home, my job. Because within the mind, there is that filter, the me filter. When your entire perception just comes through that filter, gets completely infected, and then you experience the result of the infection, which means you're pretty sick. You feel sick. And you struggle to get healthy. That doesn't sound like fun. It doesn't sound like a party that we want to go to, right? What is it that perceives right now in this very moment? Yeah? Is it possible to just be this open question, not knowing, sort of an open question? There is perception. What is it that perceives? It's not a question that's focusing on finding an answer. It's just an open question. Because the answer to the question is this openness, is the question itself. Within the question is the answer. What is the reality? What is it that is real? Just remain open with that. No need to grasp around an answer or some memory or something you heard or you read. Soak deeply into not knowing. And no need to know. Because the mind is resting in this open question. It's the open question. Not even a question, just the openness. The openness of wondering. It's a wandering consciousness. Consciousness wandering. Whoa. What am I? What am I? But I am. Oh yeah, I am. I don't know what that is. I don't know what it means, but I am. Beyond any doubt. Absolute I am. Not I, body, mind, I, this image, this experience, that experience. Beyond experience, I am. Beyond the form, I am. The I is transparent. Transparent beingness. You cannot grasp it, cannot understand it, figure it out. But you are it. You can be it, you are it. Wisdom blooms effortlessly within yourself when your interest, your passion, your dedication is to truth. Being, living truth, trusting consciousness, trusting the mystery of being, not the mind that says this plus this minus that, or plus this divided by that, give me more of this and less of that. No. No. That occurs in the world. It occurs in our space. But we know they're just movements on the surface. You need to do this in order to get that. You need to do that in order to accomplish this. That's fine, but it does not relate to what you are. You remain as you are. In the midst of all movements, all activities, all mentations, all sensations, you remain in the recognition that I am the transparency of being. I am the invisible, infinite, invisible self. Yes, I am that. And that is untouched. It is the transparency of being. So, any questions? There's thunder, thunder.
Hi, Magdi.
Hello, Esther.
Cool shirt.
You should have seen the one that Shiva is wearing. He's wearing a cool one too.
Yeah.
Bright red.
Wow. Sometimes in preparation for satsang, I'll go into contemplation, and sometimes it's hard to come up with a question that's going on, and like at the end of satsang, and we've got 20 minutes left. Sometimes I just wish I had a question so you wouldn't go away. But what came today was to ask you just to speak to true humility. True humility. That's all, whatever comes.
Yeah, beautiful. Yes. True humility is your complete absence. Complete absence. There is no one being humble. And it touches the heart in a very, very beautiful way. Because it's your very self that's there with you. As you recognizing you, recognizing himself, herself as your very self, recognizing the one self. It's not a mental thing, it's a deep recognition. In a way, it's impossible to be recognizing the self without being humility itself. It's more than being humble, it's being humility. Being humble, there's still the impression of someone. But being humility is humility and I are one. I am humility. I is humility. So in humility, let's say you're bowing to yourself. You bow, the self is bowing to itself. The self recognizes itself. One recognition. That's like the highest humility, is being the complete absence, and which means being the complete presence, being the universal self. It's a silent beingness, a silent recognition, a silent understanding. Now, there is also humility along the path, meaning we recognize the wisdom of the self and we bow to it. We recognize it. We approach it not with our egoic mind, but we approach it with our begging bowl or with our open hands, open heart. Giving all of ourselves. Recognizing that there is the higher self, the wisdom of the Guru, that we are open to. We are humbly opening ourselves to. So in this sort of humility, there is a recognition of the path and the higher truth. And we recognize that we are on the path. That although we have traversed many a mountain, we are still traveling, we are still on the path. And we give all of ourselves for the grace of the Guru. So it's a humility that is directed towards truth. It is directed towards awakening. It is directed towards the highest wisdom. It is not directed towards I'll be humble towards you and then you'll do something for me in the phenomenal realm. I do not consider humility in the phenomenal realm to be a true humility. The meaning of all the high virtues, and humility is one of the high virtues, the meaning of all the high virtues of that we recognize comes from the self, comes represent the self and direct us towards the self. So the pursuit of love and beauty and creativity and simplicity and honesty, all of these qualities, these virtues, they lead us to the self. They represent the self and they're calling from the self. There is a magnetic force from consciousness, from the truth that is calling us to it. And it touches our heart. And so this humility that I'm speaking about is a humility that is directed towards awakening. And it ripens. It may start with a subject-object, but in time, now I don't know how much time, it could be lifetimes in some cases, some other cases it could be soon, very soon, within this lifetime, that there is a ripening, and within this ripening you recognize via the grace of the Guru that thou art that, Tatvam Asi. The Father and I are one. This recognition starts to dawn within your heart, within your being. And the opacity of the me, the physicality, the materiality of the body-mind starts to fade away gently, slowly, softly. And makes room for the light of being, which is the formless self, the infinite, invisible beingness, awareness. And it's a beautiful ripening, in this humility, it's a very beautiful ripening, a rapprochement, get closer and closer to the self, to the teacher, to the Guru. And at some point you are that. You are the love that you were all along seeking. You are the freedom, the joy, the purity, the transparency, the reality, the truth, the wisdom that you were always seeking. Humility in the phenomenal realm is always objective. It has a personal agenda. And it's aiming towards a personal, towards a phenomenal goal. The personal agenda in the spiritual realm, in the true spirituality, does not have a phenomenal realm, a goal. It has as a goal, the phenomenal, the noumenal revelation, the revelation of truth, the revelation of that has no shape, no size, no form, no coming, no going. The self. Once you come to the understanding of the self, you start to realize its universality, that it was never a personal journey. What seemed to be a personal journey is revealed to be a magical show. Because nowhere can you find a person. So true humility is an expression from the heart. You cannot resist it. It's very sweet. It's very true, and it touches the heart. It comes from the heart and it touches the heart. But it's not meekness, nor is it being lovey-dovey, sweetie. There's also a certain core certainty and strength and solidity at the heart of humility. Yeah, Onjin, I saw your question. I will come to it in just a minute, yeah? Yes, Esther, yes?
Magdi,
Yes.
the reason I asked it, it feels like as the magnetism of the self deepens, that in contemplation, there's almost a wonder and a recognition that the truth trumps the body mind. And it's to see that happening, it's that to me is what feels like true humility.
Mm-hmm.
To see that
Yes.
that happening is just awesome, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I see.
Yeah.
But
Thank you.
mm-hmm. Yes. So what I'm understanding you to say is that there is a humility in recognizing the higher truth, in recognizing as your understanding deepens of the truth, you realize that your previous beliefs and your previous notions, they were like a little candle in facing the sunlight. And this recognition is quite humbling. That's very good. That's very good. Yes, it's this sort of humility. Eventually, it sheds away. That humility sheds away because we become more and more the self. We become more and more that was humbling us. And so when you are very boastful of your own ideas and your own beliefs, and then you realize you see something beyond your beliefs that is true, and your beliefs sort of cannot stand in the face of this understanding, and rather than arguing, for your old beliefs, you recognize the higher understanding, the higher truth, and in that recognition, the humility is right there. There is humility in recognition. It's like people used to believe the earth is flat, and when was it Aristotle? Well, when the notion that the earth is not flat, is round, was presented, some folks, rather than looking deeper into that, they ridiculed this new notion, and they defended their own belief. But there is some folks who looked into it, who looked into that new theory, and they were interested. They were interested in the truth, which means they were not equally interested in their own beliefs than in the truth. They were more interested, even 2% more interested in the truth than in their beliefs. And that 2% led them to became 4, and it became 5. Eventually, they started to understand that, wait a minute, what we're looking at is making more and more sense every day. Already they had the humility. Already there was something within those folks. There was this 1% or this 2% willingness towards the truth, more willingness towards the truth than towards their own beliefs. So you could say that the seed of true humility was within them already. And I would say that within the ones who are arguing for their own beliefs, it is there too, but it's dormant. It's like a seed that hasn't gotten some water yet. It doesn't have the right ingredients to sprout. But maybe I'm wondering now. Okay, Esther. It's a beautiful question. Thank you.
Hi, Magdi.
Yes, hello, Paul.
I didn't really have a question tonight, but something that you've just said has spurred me on to speak. It's to do with what you've just said about recognition is humility. Because I used to be a Christian, and I adopted all the Christian beliefs, the evangelical Christian beliefs. And once I'd done that, I kind of was very arrogant with those beliefs. It was like that was the truth, and nothing else could possibly be the truth. But since I heard this message, I just cannot deny, and haven't been able to deny for a long time that the beliefs that I thought were real and the truth possibly aren't. And when I was a Christian, I used to strive to be humble and to have humility. And I used to find myself very disappointed in myself that I couldn't be humble.
Mm-hmm.
And yet this message, there's just, once you let your mind wander to away from the beliefs that you held so dear, that a humility just comes over you all of a sudden. It's like you can't help it. It's like I just don't know anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. And that is, I find it a very humble place to be.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All the time.
Right, because once you come to I don't know, in a way you're coming to an openness and an interest, maybe a deep interest in knowing. But knowing is a different thing from believing, because believing is sort of like joining the troops or something like that. It's like you're part of a certain belief structure you adopted. But the interest, the desire, the passion, the love for truth, it's sort of, you have to, in a way, release your beliefs, and of course, the best way to release your beliefs is in seeing through them, in seeing that, in fact, the world is not pink, that you're wearing pink glasses. You have to sort of get to see those lenses through which you are looking, that are, let's say, that are your perception, that are making your perception what it is. And the main belief we have, the core belief that we have, is that I, consciousness, depends on the body-mind, is limited to a body-mind. The inquiry into this belief, scrutinizing this belief, applying the reasoning to this belief, investigating this belief is inevitable when we have an interest in truth. Because when our interest in truth is weak, then our beliefs is dominant, and the beliefs is what they've invaded all our thoughts. They've permeated all our thoughts and our feelings. And so we're in the bubble of the thoughts of the me the person, meaning I, no longer universal consciousness, but I the person, having all these experiences and these thoughts and these feelings and these desires and these hopes and these wishes and these disappointments. And it's a bubble, a vicious circle. But when we have a higher interest in the truth than in the status quo, then we start wondering, wait a minute, the core question: what is real? And you cannot go ask the guy next door, because everybody's infected with the belief that what is real is the oak tree in the yard. Very few have contemplated the reality of consciousness. But when you come to that message and you hear it, you say, wait a minute, bingo, that's something within me that resonates. Says, yes, consciousness, awareness, whatever word you want to call it, that is real. Oak tree is here today. Heck, 10 years later or 5 years later, it's gone. They've harvested them all to make oak flooring. But yet, that consciousness is still there. The same awareness that was perceiving the oak tree that now is perceiving just the open field without the oak tree in it. So that same awareness is there, is real. Then you start looking deeper and deeper. Wait a minute, have I ever experienced the absence of awareness? Because there is this belief that awareness depends on the body-mind. And that when something happens to the body, then something happens to awareness or consciousness. Which means that there is such a thing as changing awareness or no awareness. So I look into it. I say, okay, I'm not going to say no to that, but I'm not going to say yes either. I'm going to look. Have I ever experienced changing awareness? I've experienced a changing body. I've experienced changing thoughts. I've experienced changing weather. I've experienced many changing dreams, etc. Bodily sensations. The body of a 2-year-old, then 10-year-old, 20-year-old, etc. The sensation of the body this morning. I've experienced many changing phenomena, changing experiences, changing objects. But I've never experienced changing consciousness, right? I may experience the idea, the thought, oh yeah, consciousness changes. But that's just experiencing a thought. The thought doesn't know nada, doesn't know anything about it. The thought is known, is not knowing. But I've never experienced changing consciousness or awareness. I've never experienced that. And I've never experienced no awareness. I've never experienced no awareness. But I'm open, and it's really important that we don't accept what I'm saying. You have to look and see if you have to investigate within yourself to come to realize that indeed there's one reality, and reality doesn't have like a black holes in it. It's not like a reality and then doop, a break in reality and now it resumes. It's not like that. Reality is. It doesn't have anything to do with the elements, right?
Yeah. And you mentioned resonance with this message and resonance with the truth. And once that resonance happens within, there's no choice in the matter, is there?
Yes, right.
It's just you get carried along with it almost.
Yes, beautiful.
There's no room whatsoever for arrogance.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like falling in love. I mean, you can't reason your way around it, or it's beautiful. It's like you may travel to the highest mountain, the highest distance, the furthest distance to be with your loved one. Yes, this resonance, what touches your heart, it's not just a sentimentality.
No.
It's an understanding that goes really deep. It's not, oh yeah, I think this, oh, I like that, I said that was really nice, and oh, the other person said this, I like that too. It's not like that. It's, you're hearing something that you know within yourself, and within yourself it goes bing. And it happens many times in during your journey.
Thank you, Bhakti.
Okay, Paul, nice talking to you. Anjin, you're right. Thank you for this beautiful satsang. What, if anything, can be done to be less of the person? Nothing. It is nothing that can be done to be less of a person, because you're never a person. You're never more of a person, less of a person, a little bit of a person, more of a person. You're not a person. You've never been a person. A person is just a thought and impression that arises to you. It's a mind appearance. It's a mind phenomena. A person. How have you ever been a person? You tell me. How? You've only been a person by thinking you're a person. The way you think you're a person is you perceive a thought that says, I'm a person. And you say, yes, I'm a person. In other words, you're believing the thought, right? Because if the thought that says, hey, Anjin, you're a person, if that thought doesn't arise, you're not having the thought. Also the feeling. If the feeling arises, says, oh, I feel like a better person, a worse person, whatever. And you say, oh, yes, I do feel like that. If that feeling appears to you and you say yes to that feeling, then you're feeling that you're a person. But if that feeling that says, you are so and so and you're feeling such and such, if that feeling does not arise, you're not feeling you're a person. So what I'm saying is that you are a person because you're perceiving a thought that says you're a person and you're saying yes to that. And or you are a person because you are perceiving a feeling that is arising that says you are a person and you are saying yes to that. What if you don't say yes to that? What if you simply recognize, oh, here is thought number 6,785,845,282. This is that one more thought. SK4 forum. I got your question, but I will come to it in a minute. So what if you simply recognize the thought to be just a thought, and you recognize a bodily sensation and a feeling to be just that? Phenomenal events, mind events. Mind events do not define you. An event that says, hello, you're a person, does not signify that you're a person. Okay, so you need to look at that. Also, if you are a person, let's say I'm a person, what knows that? It's a good question, because something says I'm a person. What is it that is saying I'm a person? Something is perceiving I'm a person and is putting a check mark saying, yes, I'm a person. Who or what is that thing? Maybe it's not a thing that is saying, yes. What is it that is perceiving? Go beyond what is perceived. You have to go to what perceives. And when you go to that perceives, where do you go? Do you go right? Do you go left? Where do you go? Yes? You have to contemplate that you are never anything else but consciousness. Yes? You are never anything else but consciousness. It is consciousness that perceives. That perceives I am a person. So let's say you perceive you're a person. Which one are you? Are you the person, or are you the consciousness that perceives that you're a person. I would say you are more the consciousness that perceives what arises than you are what arises. In fact, you cannot be two things. Reality is one. Either you are real or you are not real. There isn't like you are half real and half not real. There are no in between. Either you're real or not real. Okay? If you're conscious, if you are consciousness and consciousness is real, then you are consciousness. If you are a person and the person is real, then you are the person, not consciousness. Which one of the two are you? What is it that is real? Is it the person that is real, or is it consciousness that is real? You need to look at that. Yes? And when you look at that, Anjin, yes. And when you look at that, you will realize that it is consciousness that is real and not the body-mind that keeps changing. Yes? Okay. Let me see. And any questions?
Hi, Magdi.
Yes, yes. Hello, Anna.
Just on that point of Christianity, because I left the church the same time as Paul, and it was quite a sudden thing, really, because I was very committed and in there head first, and all of a sudden it just changed, and I felt like it just happened that I left. It wasn't a choice. It just couldn't carry on. It was dead.
Yes.
But since I found non-duality quite soon after that, by coincidence, I wasn't really looking. And since I've been involved in non-duality, the meaning of the Bible and the scripture has come more alive for me.
Right.
It speaks of non-duality to me.
Yes, yes.
They're like pointers.
Right, right. No, you're seeing not just the form of what was expressed, but where it came from, what is its meaning, the true meaning of the scriptures.
Yes.
You will find the truth in all the scriptures. It just depends how it's expressed in different ways. But in non-duality is the final raft, let's say, the final ferry that is taking you to the other shore. Yes?
Yes. Yeah, that's what it feels like. It feels like that, but sometimes I just get, I don't know, I suppose downloads from nowhere, like that. I don't remember them telling me in church, like, for instance, about eating from the tree of good and evil. And once they ate that, they weren't in paradise anymore. And they covered their bodies with fig leaves. That they started believing they were a body, where before that they weren't a body, because they lived in paradise.
Yes,
and that's just so non-duality to me.
Yeah, well, in non-duality, there is no such thing as good and evil. There is no good and evil. There's just truth or ignorance. Truth or ignorance, meaning there is illusion, believing that I am a physical entity and that there is a physical world, or the truth that the consciousness is the only reality. All is consciousness. Yes?
Yeah.
There isn't good and evil. Good and evil is mind. Good people, good action, bad action.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. When they ate from the tree of good and evil, they ate into that belief.
Right.
Before that, they didn't have good and evil.
Right.
Before that, they were pure spirit. They didn't even know they had a body because they were non-dual, and they ate into the tree of good and evil and became dual.
Yes.
And then suddenly they thought they had a body, and they covered it with fig leaves because they were ashamed in front of God.
Yes, absolutely.
And things like that anyway.
Yes. There are a lot of metaphors in the scriptures that become clear to you once you have the non-dual understanding, once you come to the understanding of truth. Whether you call it non-dual, whatever you call it, doesn't matter. I'm not selling advice or anything like that. I'm just saying once you come to the understanding of truth, then a lot of the metaphors and the insinuations in the scriptures become clear to you.
Yeah. And it's nice because it makes it not a waste of time. You know, it sort of strengthens my
the interest is not so much in the scriptures. The interest is in awakening. Yes.
Absolutely, that's the only interest.
Yes.
That they just deepen the interest for it and belief in the fact that we are not dual.
Right. So
there is no separation.
The scriptures come out of the enlightened mind. Yeah, they're expressions that arise from the awakening, right?
Yeah.
So we're interested in awakening, and so then we are the scriptures. Yes, then we are the scriptures.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, Anne.
That's great.
Thank you, Anne. It's raining. Okay, let me see. So let me first address this question. It was a question by Gabi. Hello, Magdi. So the question is, what are the signs that I am in a right path or the wrong path? I don't know if I can be in satsang today. My daughter has games, and then okay, thank you. Okay. What are the signs that I am in a right path or the wrong path? Okay. So Gabi, you know you are on the right path when you are becoming happier and happier and happier and happier. Okay, when your happiness is no longer dependent on circumstances, your happiness keep on increasing. It doesn't have to go straight up like that. But it's increasing happiness. You know that you are on the right path. Yeah. Now, don't confuse happiness with feeling good. Okay, it doesn't have anything to do, nada, with feeling good. Oh, I'm feeling good, and people love me. I've good. I'm surrounded with people who love me, and everything is good in my life, in my work, and I'm happy because of that. That is a feeling good. That is not happiness. Happiness is completely non-objective, non-phenomenal. Doesn't have anything to do with your money, with your children, with your job, with your partner, with your home, with anything like that. It has nothing to do with that. In fact, happiness is completely non-phenomenal. So you know that you are on the right path when you are happier and happier. Yes? It may happen that also your life will become easier and sweeter, and if you're now relating with friends, that relationships are more agreeable to you. You may find that you're engaging in work that is that has very little stress in it, and it's bringing you good income. You may experience also in the waking dream the effects of the happiness, but they are secondary. Yes, they're secondary. Also, you are on the right path when you will start to notice that events that used to affect you in the past, now they doesn't matter too much. They arise. They may trigger you a little bit. You may find yourself slightly off kilter, but not for too long and not so intensely. In other words, your reactivity will also start to become less and less frequent and less intense. Okay, thank you for your question, Gabby. Let me see, Stephen. Okay, well, let me look at this question first. SK4 Forum, there was a question that came on YouTube. Guruji, I understand and see the beingness here, or the light here illuminates everything. The recognition is not felt, or no change is felt about this by the mind. I meant recognition is not felt, or no change is felt about this by the mind. Okay, SK, you say you understand beingness here, and that the light that illuminates everything. But the recognition is not felt. So all I can say is that your understanding is not a complete understanding. Complete, and that's Jay. Hello, Jay. I would say you need to continue to contemplate that beingness is not being J. Beingness is not being a human. Beingness is not being a good person, a spiritual person, a better person. Beingness has nothing to do with thought. Beingness has nothing to do with your feelings. Beingness has nothing to do with experiences. Beingness has nothing to do with situations. Contemplate the beingness that is right now hearing, perceiving these words. This beingness is non-phenomenal, undeniable. You cannot deny. How could you deny consciousness? How could you deny I, the reality that perceives this perception? Do not think about beingness. Turn your attention to the reality that perceives. Has no name, no age, no size, no form. It's undeniable. Reality is undeniable. It doesn't start in the East and ends in the West. It has no borders, right? Turn your attention to that perceives. Keep returning to that. There will be a lot of distractions, a lot of situations that are calling you to being a person. Return as often as possible to the reality that perceives, the reality that is. I know the mind will say there are many situations in the world that you need to be a person. For now, you don't have much time to tango. You cannot willy-dolly around this. You cannot postpone your awakening. Don't delay it because of situations. In the midst of all situations, keep returning to the reality that perceives, the reality that is. In this way, the recognition of what you are will deepen and continue deepening and stabilize itself. because beyond all else, that is what interests you. It is not on the back burner. It is on all burners. All the help that you need is available to you. You are the reality of being. What could be more helpful than that? And the recognition has nothing to do with the mind. You say the recognition is not felt and no change is felt about this by the mind. What do you mean by the mind? You are not the mind. You are not the thoughts that you perceive. You are not the sensations that you perceive. You are the perceiver in chief. Who cares about what the mind recognizes or does not recognize? Recognize yourself directly. Forget about whether the mind comes along or not. Don't wait for the mind. Because the mind is going to continue to be pulling you by the sleeve. Ah, no, wait for me, I didn't get it, I didn't get it. Don't worry about the freaking mind. Recognize yourself directly. And then the mind will follow. You will see. Will follow like a little puppy. Wants to please you. I want to please you. Yeah, I'm here to serve you. Your business is not to serve the mind, to make the mind happy. Thoughts are crazy. They're like an alcoholic. They drank a big bottle of I am me, I am this and I am that. I am miserable or I am whatever story. You are not the mind. Don't worry so much about the mind. Don't be so troubled about whether the mind is coming along for the journey or not. It is bound to come to your feet. Your business is to recognize yourself directly. Recognize the reality that perceives. I am that. Okay? Very simple. Consciousness is real. I am this consciousness. What else would I be? I/consciousness is real. It's not an object. Nothing can perceive it like the oak tree. You can perceive the oak tree. Right? Keep returning to that. Okay, Jay, thank you for your question. One more question from Stephen. Is there any question here?
Magdi?
Yes, hello, Zoe.
Hi. Wow, this has just been amazing. I've heard so many things, and let me see if I can formulate what I want to say. When Anne was speaking, I was really relating to her whole topic of, all of a sudden being pulled away from something that she had been into. And I very much relate to that, even though mine wasn't a religious group, it was still a group. And since, this falling in love with truth, what I find is, just more internal and internal and internal. And when you were talking about the difference in Gabby's question, it's not about just feeling good. I really appreciate that, because it also seems to me that it's like waves of stuff comes up that in the past I would have resisted or run to somebody to ease the sensation of it, just being around people. But now I find I can't do that, even though, it's like maybe it would be a quick fix, but I just sit by myself. And, and then there's times when I go, well, wait a minute, maybe I'm isolating too much, even though I have activities and I work and all that. But can you speak a little bit about that?
Mm-hmm. Mm. Thank you, Harity. Okay, Jay. Thank you. In your contemplation of truth, Zoe, it's like you are examining, you're inquiring into the core issues in your life. I mean, you're not looking at how can my job improve, how can my home improve, how can my friendships improve, how can this or that improve. You're looking at what is it that is real? What am I truly? I mean, you're the contemplation of truth is like a journey to the sun. It's not a journey to the moon, or a journey to Ohio, or it's not a journey to New York. It's a journey to the sun. It is bound to have profound effects that you will notice in your life. But beyond all, you are going to start to notice the profound effects within yourself. The more and more transparency, more and more not knowing, more and more when situations arise, you find yourself sort of looking at them like a blank page. It's like, and it's not that you're going dumb or numb. It's that the patterns which are the me, which are constantly meeting every event is being met with a me. Every event, oh, I like this, I don't like that, I had this, oh, this is bad, that's worse, and that's good, that's all of that starts to, you start to see the emptiness of it, and the energetics within it. It runs out of fuel. There will still be events in your life. There will still be the same events that were occurring before, that before were like so awful or so great. But something drastic is changing, in that you're no longer experiencing them as personal events.
Yeah, there's just no draw.
Yes.
There's no draw.
Right. That juice, the meat juice, that the bottle, the meat bottle.
Exactly.
Drink a little bit of that meatball. I'm feeling miserable now. Oh, no, I'm feeling good. Oh, I'm seeing fairies. Right?
Yeah.
So, and then maybe some thoughts may arise. Say, oh, maybe I am secluding myself or isolating myself. We look at that. Maybe we are. No, we look at that. Say, well, wait a minute. What's going on? I'm isolating myself. Okay. I'm interested in that. Like, what does it mean? Because I'd like to look at it. Of course, if I'm isolating myself and it's a bad thing, I'm going to say, hey, wait a minute. I don't want to go deeper in the wrong direction. So say, what am I isolating myself? What does it mean? I look at it. I don't know what it means. I don't know. I look at it. But I can look. And looking is always fresh. Yes? Looking is always fresh. Doesn't have to do with old stories, old ideas, or beliefs, what you read. You're looking freshly. I look at now at what you brought up, feeling isolated, and I look at it, what do I mean? I'm not going to say yes or no to that. I say, okay, what does it mean to me? Oh, for me, it means there is a thought that's arising, and maybe a feeling that's arising. Oh, I'm isolating myself. Isolating myself from something, from somebody, from people. I'm isolating myself from people. So therefore, I must be feeling that, oh, I don't want to be with people. So if I'm feeling I don't want to be with people, if I'm feeling that, then it makes sense that I will isolate myself. Then I look at like, what is that about? Like, I don't want to be with people. Oh, because they're bad. They're toxic. That I don't want to be with toxic people. They say, oh, interesting. Of course, I don't want to be with toxic people. That makes sense to me. I don't want to be with toxic people. Then I look at it and say, well, what's a toxic person? Toxic person, I don't know. So I look at it. It could be that I realize, oh, toxic person, they're not spiritual. I say, oh, yeah, well, I'm spiritual, they're not spiritual, they're toxic. I don't want to mix with non-spiritual people, they're toxic, you see. So then I look, maybe I look deeper at that. Maybe I say, wait a minute. Is this true that they're not spiritual? Who is not spiritual? Everybody is freaking spiritual. Well, I'm going too fast. I think everybody's spiritual. They're going maybe in the wrong direction. Everybody wants love, peace, and happiness, wants the truth, but they're deluded by, oh well, if I get $10 million and if I can get this house over there, I will be happy. You see. But I look around me, I find everybody is in a way is in this delusion. In fact, more than 90%, let's say, are in this delusion. So I only need to be with those, relate with those 10%. Okay, so I decide, fine, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to just stick with the 10% that are spiritual. I go to sleep, I wake up in the morning, and my neighbors who are completely non-spiritual, they like, to chop trees, and they like to hunt the elephants, whatever. They invite me to dinner. They invite me to dinner, and they send a gift, saying, maybe holy cow, what am I going to do now? They're my neighbors, So I say no, because I don't want to go with those people who are toxic. A month later, they invite me another time. Or I may be driving and I run out of gas, or something happens, and suddenly it's the neighbor who's helping me. That toxic person is helping me. Now I feel like I maybe should go to dinner next time they invite me. Before I know it, I'm inviting them to dinner. What am I saying? I'm saying we look at it, but in looking, it's alive. The looking is alive. It's fresh. It's not the same. It's not repetitive. It's not like bad bean, good bean, bad bean. It's not like that. Right? You get a feeling for what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
Fresh.
Yeah.
And ideas about ourselves, images about ourselves, we have to look at them a little closer. Look, we are social beings. We love to be and interact with others. We love activities. We like to come and go. We like to be with friends. We are a tribal animal. We're a social animal. So that, if you find yourself that you're like alone, you take a look at that. At the same time, if you find yourself with a social group that it doesn't resonate for you, then what's the point?
Yeah.
You see that you need to pursue that, you know.
Yeah, that's the discrimination. And when Anne was speaking, I mean, it was very similar, just sort of like the group that I was attending, it just sort of fell away. And I still keep in contact somewhat, but it just,
yeah, that
yeah.
will happen. That will happen. That will happen. Sometimes we join group, we become part of a tribe, so that it gives us a certain something, you know, a certain identity, certain security, certain to fill in the emptiness, you know.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd rather listen to, you know, some Mozart sonata. I mean, I'd rather listen to. I'd rather read a good book or go for a walk or listen to some good music, you know.
Yeah. Thank you, Magdi.
Okay, Zoe, very lovely. Just gonna very quickly go through this last question. Hi, Magdi, why don't people stay on the path until full realization? It seems rare. Maybe the world is too enticing, or it is too difficult? Question mark. Just curious. Thanks, Stephen. Why don't people stay on the path until full realization? Why don't you? Why don't you? Why don't you? You know, the path is full of side roads. We are on the path. We're all on the path. But then there is a side road that says, oh, and somebody says, oh, you know, come here. There's a good party over here. So, oh, good party. But I'm heading towards the West Coast. Yeah, but you have time. You just come to the party. Okay, you go to the party and you get drunk, you know, you have a good time. You sleep with, I don't know who. Before you know it, you're building a hut together. You're having family, and God knows what's happening out there. You know, 20 years later, you remember, oh, wait a minute. You know, I remember now, I was heading towards the West Coast. Okay, but now you're 35 years old, you see. There are many temptations, let's say, via the senses and thought. Via the senses, we perceive objects. We perceive, we're a subject and there are objects we perceive, and then we want them. We want them or we want to run away from them. This is the relationship we have via the senses, because the senses have not been purified by the wisdom of the self. The teachings of the emptiness have not purified the mind. So the mind is impure. Impure meaning it's infected with the me belief, the separate self belief. And it doesn't happen overnight. Even when you come upon the truth and you start to be interested, there is still the temptation of, oh, I need this, I have that, I don't have this, I should have that. There is still the me dynamic, not completely, it's not eliminated yet. The me dynamic they weaken, but they still continue to operate, and they take you on many, many tangents. This is why you need to stay steadfast on the path, and the grace of the guru is your guide. So that's why people don't stay on the path until full realization. Eventually they will. The wheel of samsara, sooner or later, will stop spinning. It seems rare, maybe the world is too enticing. Yes, well, the world, the world is always in relation to a me, the external world and the internal self. As long as there is this separate relationship between the personal self and the external world, there is ignorance and there is seeking and avoiding. Okay, thank you for your question. A reminder that the Costa Rica retreat is still possibility to join the retreat is October 27, that's in a couple of weeks, to November the 1st. And if you're interested or you would like to go, just let us know. Okay, everybody, very lovely to be with you. Thank you for your questions, your love, your friendship, and you are all so sweet. Thank you all. We'll see you soon.
Thank you, Magdi.
Bye-bye. Namaste. Okay, beautiful. All of you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Magdi.
Thank you.